Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're finally gonna do Rising Virgo. So first, I'm gonna give you some characteristics about Rising Virgo and what it means to be a Rising Virgo. Then I'm gonna talk about the descendant. So the descendant is really your relationship needs, and I'm gonna talk about the relationship needs of Virgo. And lastly, I'm gonna give you a celebrity example of Rising Virgo that I think you'll really appreciate, because I think that his product, his creation, is the ultimate Rising Virgo thing that a person could have made. So let's get into it. So first of all, Virgo, did you notice that I straightened my hair for you? I was really afraid of what to do with my hair for a Rising. Anytime I'm gonna make a Virgo, there are two videos that make me nervous. It is Virgo because you guys are very vocal, and two is Leo because I wanna live up to your standards, Leo, and I just can't, but I try my best. And with Virgo, I don't even know what to do, but this is what I did, Virgo. I hope you like it. So Virgo rising is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is a planet of intellect and information. So being that it is ruled by a very mental sign, they're going to be very cerebral people, but it is ruled by Mercury and Earth. So Virgo rising people are really concerned with analyzing and sifting information that is in their everyday environment. So all the interactions that you had with people when you were a little kid are really what formed your ascendant. And whether you believe that God placed you on this earth, your parents, the gods, the universe, something, whatever it is that put you on this planet decided that you needed to have a Virgo ascendant because you could not survive in your environment with Leo. This becomes interesting if you have Leo planets. And later on, I'm going to be making a video specifically about planets in the 12th house and how this plays out. But really what happens is that everything that your environment told you that you didn't need, that you couldn't use in this life, really gets thrown in the 12th house. So your ascendant becomes what I call your little spacesuit. So this spacesuit was especially crafted to help you survive in this new environment. So this new environment ends up being your world, so your new life here on Earth. So all of the things that you were going to need, all of those qualities and characteristics that were going to help you survive and thrive in this new environment were really patched on, and I go like this because I'm sewing, they're really patched on by the people that were around you in your environment when you were growing up. Those are the ones that really put together your ascendant. So your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, your teachers, anyone who was around you when you were a little kid, those are the people that really gave you those messages that told you this is what you need to have in order to survive and to really make it here. So what did you leave behind in the 12th house? So what did you leave behind when you left Leo behind? So essentially you left behind the flamboyance of Leo and traded it for efficiency. Leo likes to do things in a very big way, in a very expressive and exuberant way, in a very unique Leo way. Well, all of that wonderfulness of Leo gets left behind in the 12th house, and you trade all of that for efficiency. You are not concerned with flamboyance. You are not concerned with self-expression. You are concerned with whether things are efficient or inefficient. So these people are really good with money. And another thing that you left behind is, like I said, self-expression. And you really left behind that self-expression and you traded it for usefulness. Is what I'm saying going to be useful? Are the words coming out of my mouth going to benefit myself or anyone around me? That's why whenever Virgo rising people speak, they tend to be critical, and really the reason for their criticism is because they are constantly trying to improve whatever it is that is around them. So keep that in mind. You also traded self-confidence of Leo, and you traded that for self-analysis. And Leo has this really big self-love, and they accept themselves with however they are, and they're confident. And Virgo, not that they're not confident, but they're very hard on themselves and they're very critical. And either you see this as a good trait or a bad trait. I am a rising Capricorn, so I see this as a very good trait. They analyze themselves because the first house is the self, and wherever you have Virgo placed, you can use the statement of I analyze. And what is Virgo analyzing in the first house? They're analyzing themselves and their environment, because the first house is yourself and your environment. So Virgo is constantly analyzing themselves as to how can they improve, or do they look a certain way, or how could they improve the way that they look, how could they improve their physical body, how could they improve their environment. Another thing you traded, Virgo, is you traded pretty words. If you've ever heard a Leo speak, you know that they have a very exuberant way of speaking and very decorative way of speaking. I don't have the right words. I don't have the Leo words to use it. But when you hear Donald Trump say that, oh, this is magnificent, this is beautiful, this is wonderful, that gets left behind in the 12th house, and you trade that for accurate. How accurate are the words that I'm using? How truthful are the words that I'm using? Truth and accuracy and precision is very important for rising Virgo. You can go to them if you want a very honest opinion that is incisive and goes down to the bone. Something very specific that you want help with. If you want help with something, if you want to fix your life, tell a rising Virgo friend, hey, I'm trying to improve on this aspect of my life. Keep me in check. Well, they'll keep you in check. I say this because I have a Virgo rising friend who used to give me very useful but uncalled for advice, and it used to give me a lot of anxiety. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell her what she could help me on. And then she started doing that. And then we became closer and closer and closer. And she helped me fix my life for the better. So thank you for that, Jessie. If you have a rising Virgo friend, make sure that you thank them for all the wonderful things that they do for you, because they really appreciate it. They do a lot of work, and sometimes they don't get praise for it, because praise gets left behind in the 12th house. That's another thing that you left behind, rising Virgo. You left behind praise because Leo needs that praise, and they very often get it because they just finagle their way around the world and they get the praise that they need. And Virgo does a lot of work but doesn't necessarily get the praise that they deserve. And they definitely deserve it because they work very hard. You also traded selfishness for selflessness, or self-interest for the interest of others. Leo, not that they can be selfish, but that is one of their negative traits, because they are so focused on the ego and self-expression. That is the positive side. They're focused on the self and the self-expression. So the negative side of that is selfishness. So Virgo doesn't have that. Virgo is concerned with serving others. How can they help their family? How can they help their community? How can they help their friends, their coworkers, their loved ones? They're always concerned with helping. So they are a very selfless sign. So much so that they tend to even fall on the side of martyrdom. Them and Pisces are on that helping axis, and they have a tendency to do that. So when you're in your room and you're comfortable and you could do whatever you want, so you're eating chips and you're just being a gross human being and you're just watching TV, lazy and doing your thing, that is your moon. That is your comfort zone. That is the private side of yourself that no one else gets to see. But let's just say that somebody walks into the room and you don't know them. Immediately you put on your spacesuit, which is your ascendant. So for Virgo rising, they put it on, and a really part of their spacesuit is those very incisive little Virgo eyes that they use to look for signs of imperfection, or what can they fix, how could they improve things. So they start to itemize the information that is being presented to them. They look at the person and they're just like from head to toe analyzing the person for better or for worse. So Mercury, as I said, is a mental planet, but Mercury and Earth has to sift through. Earth represents material things, so physical things that you could touch, and all the things that you could physically touch in your environment, all of those things are Earth. So you are mentally Mercury, sifting through all of the material things that are around you, and that includes people and environments. So because they are constantly sifting through all of that information, they can be rather anxious people, because think about how their Mercury always has to be on and working. And that must be rather difficult because they have a really active mind. So because of this, they can get kind of frazzled nerves, because Mercury is also associated with your nerves and the nervous system. So these people have to be careful that they're not constantly in mental overload. So meditation is really important for you, rising Virgo. But remember that rising Virgo, just as much as they are assessing other people, they also assess themselves. So don't forget that. So your spacesuit has, a helmet, and that helmet has a lens, and that lens has a filter. And that filter is the filter through which you see the world. You look out at the world from the first house, and the world looks back at you from that seventh house. So how Virgo sees the world through that filtered lens is they see the world a little bit disheveled, because Virgo has one of those precision lenses that can like zoom in really to look at the very fine little details. That is Virgo's lens. So they don't see airbrushed anything. They don't see people with the Snapchat filters. They absolutely do not. They see people in their very raw state, and they're not impressed. So they want to improve. They want people to improve, and they will tell you. They will definitely give you constructive criticism. They give very good constructive criticism. And this is because for them, because remember that they're analyzing everything, and the world could be a little bit overstimulating if you are able to see so much. Rising Virgo. Rising Virgo is taking in so much information that the world can be a little bit overstimulating. So they really have to put in practice like a meditation practice or something. It doesn't even have to be meditation, something that allows you to calm down and quiet your mind. I say meditation, but it could be exercise for you. You probably are into exercise. So for them, the world is disheveled, and they're always trying to make sense out of all the chaos. And the way that I picture their everyday life to be like, how their mind works, is I think of all of those movies of people with like gifted minds, like a beautiful mind, and how they have all those whiteboards and they have like a bunch of problems going on at the same time. That's how I picture that a rising Virgo's mind works. Let me know in the comments, please, because I've always wondered if this is how you guys work, if you guys walk around with all of those like problems. And by problems, I mean like the environment and you trying to improve. So remember that I said that the world looks back at you from that seventh house. So how do others see you, rising Virgo? So the way I really feel that rising Virgo is seen by others, and definitely how I see rising Virgos, is I think of the Vestal Virgins. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but the Vestal Virgins are essentially the Roman, they were like nuns, and what they would do is keep Vesta, the goddess Vesta's fire burning. The Romans really believed that in order to keep the world in order and for the harvest and for everything to just keep going, they needed to have these fires burning all day and all night. So these women end up being priestesses, and they dedicate their lives, or 30 years of their lives, to just constantly keep those fires burning. And that is essentially how I think that we see rising Virgo people, because they work so tirelessly. And even if rising Virgo people don't necessarily think like, hey, what I'm doing keeps the hearth burning all day long, what I'm doing is so important and it keeps the whole world going. If they're not consciously thinking of their work being so important that it keeps everyone going, if they don't have it present at the front of their mind, it's at least there lingering in the back of their mind. Because this is why work is so important to rising Virgo people, being industrious, not being idle. To them, idleness, they hate laziness and they hate idleness because they like to be of service. They want to be a tool that helps everybody and really helps make the world a better place. So even if it's not at the forefront of their mind, it is at least something very subliminal that is in the back of their minds always. Like, I have to be constantly working in order to keep the fire burning. And the fire burning is really to keep the world moving and to keep their family safe and to keep the people that they love safe. So that is why they're constantly doing so much work. So the Virgo filter is one that is very polished and pristine, and it is very unbiased. Virgo rising people are not biased. They're very objective, and they objectively look for error in order to fix it. And they do this in order to make everything better. They are always concerned with polishing and polishing and polishing things until they are just perfect. But Virgo, remember that nothing is perfect, so you have to learn from your sister sign Pisces to let go. So your ascendant has certain behaviors or personality traits that are associated with it, and that this ends up being your social personality. And this is very important. This I'm going to say because of something that a subscriber wrote in one of my comments, that the ascendant could be confusing because it gets called the mask. The ascendant is not your mask. It is way more important than a mask. You're not concealing yourself in the ascendant. It is really a vehicle for your body and your spirit to carry you through this life. So your ascendant, like I said, it's like your little spacesuit that is keeping you safe and is helping you navigate the world and navigate your life. The ascendant is really important. The ascendant is so important that it used to be your whole life. In traditional astrology, the first house was your entire life. So that's how important the ascendant is. Now let's talk about the descendant. So the relationship needs that rising Virgo has. So in relationships, you really want to look at the 7th house, because the 7th house ends up being those traits that really balance out your ascendant. In the 7th house, we can keep traits that we don't really identify with, and we kind of put them on other people, like the kind of things that we project onto others. So for Virgo, what are things that they might not identify with? Maybe they might not identify with being emotional, with being romantic, with being lazy. Those are the things that they don't like in other people, but everybody has some element of that. And the place that Virgo gets to explore that is in their relationships, in the 7th house. So what they need in a relationship is not necessarily a Pisces person, but somebody who's able to allow them that Pisces all-consuming love. Pisces is the sign of ultimate love. What Virgo needs in relationships is total acceptance and love, because Virgo spends so much time trying to work on perfecting themselves and doing all of these acts of service for others in order to feel that they are worthy of love. Well, they need somebody who, from the 7th house, tells them, hey, I love you for who you are, not when you're done up, not when you're working. I love you for who you are and not what you do. That is really important for a rising Virgo person to have in relationships, because they have a tendency to tirelessly work, and sometimes they need to rest. So in Pisces, you can definitely rest in Pisces. Pisces is a sign that is associated with sleep. They need somebody who accepts them with their flaws and all, even though Virgo doesn't like to have any flaws, but everybody has flaws, Virgo. So you really need somebody who allows you to show those flaws and loves you anyway. Lastly, in relationships, Virgo needs a place to dream and be hopeful, to have fantasies about tomorrow and the future. They need that optimistic place, because Virgo rising can be very realistic. The 1st house is also the way that you think, the way that you see the world. And because Virgo rising sees the world very objectively and can be a little bit paranoid about the future and nervous about the future, they need somebody like a Pisces sort of relationship that tells them to calm down and to have faith and to let go. Letting go is a really important trait to learn for a rising Virgo person. So for my celebrity example, I think that this is the most perfect, iconic rising Virgo person, and it's Steve Jobs. And first of all, I just want to say that not just Steve Jobs himself, who is an iconic Virgo king, but the iPhone. Think of the efficiency of the iPhone, and you could be an Android person all day long. You could be like one of those rebellious Android people, or Huawei, or whatever it is that we can't have Huawei's, whatever phone that you have. You could be one of those rebels. But say what you will, but the Apple iPhone is a work of art, and it is the kind of art that a Virgo Pisces king could have made. So if you look at his chart, I'm going to pop it up so you could look at it, but he has a really nice combination of planets. Pisces Virgo people are really magical in the sense that it reminds me of the Magician card in the tarot, because they are able to like reach to the heavens, Pisces, and touch down on earth, so Virgo, and they combine those two energies and really bring into life whatever it is that they dream about. And whatever it is that they're dreaming is going to be something truly outstanding and truly useful that really serves a purpose. And think about, I'm getting all romantic about the iPhone, but let's get into the chart. Also, rising Virgo, I forgot to mention this, they're really good dressers. They really pay attention to the smallest details of their attire, and that really makes them just very sophisticated in their dress. And I couldn't not talk about Steve Jobs' iconic, black turtleneck and those jeans and those white dad shoes that he would always wear. Say what you want, but it looked really sophisticated and very like less is more, minimalist. And even if you're a Virgo and you don't have a minimalist approach to fashion, you are going to be concerned with the quality of the clothes that you wear, because you want them to last a long time, because you are really good with money. and with earth things. So his chart ruler, which is Mercury, is in the sign of Aquarius. So it made him very forward thinking. And I think that's what gives him that element of being like really deeply steeped into technology. This is something that I didn't know, but he used to be the largest shareholder at Disney, and he was also involved with Pixar. So altogether, these things are fantastical. They are, you know, not Hollywood, but just picture shows. Why do I sound like a grandma? Picture shows. These things are altogether very dreamy and Neptune-y because, you know, he's also a Pisces. And his sun is in Pisces. It's ruled by Jupiter, but his Jupiter is in Cancer. And in Cancer, Jupiter is exalted. And I really think that Jupiter in Cancer is a very nostalgic placement. So think about Disney and how nostalgic it is. So I think that he dabbled in Disney because he was a nostalgic person. He also had Jupiter conjunct Uranus, which is very innovative. That's what gives him that little innovative flair. Another thing that I wanted to say is that Steve Jobs apparently went to India to meditate for I don't know how long, and I think this is a really important example of how a really successful rising Virgo was able to acknowledge and understand that meditation and being able to quiet his very active mind was a really important part of his success. So this is a really good lesson for rising Virgo. Obviously we should probably all meditate, but rising Virgo particularly could really benefit from this. So that's the video for today, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out astrology videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one.